You can hear me all right?
Yeah, man.
Beautiful. Righto.
Here we are.
My mother asked me to ask you if you'd like to join us for dinner.
Why?
I was hoping you'd know.
I always get confused, right and left.
Oh, there is a right.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it matters, man. It's just that because there is an option, it's like I need to know that it's on the right way.
Like a left and right sock.
Yeah. My eldest boy. Hang on, I'll just hit record on this. Right, feed that close to you. Matt, you might have to shuffle over a bit. I've got to move that to the other side, eh? Test. I can hear you. You should be able to hear me and not yourself in a perfect world.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Cool. Yeah, about the sock thing. My eldest boy, he's 7, he'll be 18 at the end of this month, and he like we've got the same or similar size feet, and he's constantly up me about like knocking his socks off. But I swear he does the same to me. So it's this constant like sock battle in our house, which is yeah. Anyway, that's a bit of.
I'm pretty sure my missus actually steals my socks because that's like I'll buy a 6 pair of like specific socks that I want for. I'm a little bit funny for a specific couple of pairs of shoes, right? Because I've got every kind of hobby I have a pair of shoes for.
Yeah. And
they'll just disappear. And I'm like always checking the washing machine. They're not like hidden anywhere. I'm like, Ozzy, you taking my socks? Why would I wear your socks? I'm like, because you suck and you don't have your own. I don't know.
Socks are one of those things. And even like my youngest boy, Miller, he'll like freak out like if the socks aren't right. And I remember, man, I was the same. Like mum getting me ready for daycare and shit. If like the seam was wrong or something like that, it'd ruin me. And his big thing is the socks got to be right. They can't be above his knees. They've got to be to his knees, but not above his knees. And he wears lives in shorts. His shorts can't touch his knees. So he'll literally get dressed for the day. He's 4. He'll wander out and just be like, "Are my shorts touching my knees?" And like, just look. And I'm like, "No, mate." But it's like so it might be like a very, very might be some people class as borderline like mental abuse maybe, but like once he come out and he's like, "My short touch my knee." It's like, "Yeah, man." And he's like, "What?" I was like, "No, I'm only joking." But yeah, it's weird the little traits we have. But anyway, getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Today's guest we have Ryan.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, man. Since you predominantly reside up the north end of the state, up Burnie. Made the trek down. Oh, and thank you to the ones on Patreon, the ones that, basically allow me to do this as much as what I do. The episodes are free now on Spotify, but if you are listening on Spotify, you're a few behind. So, feel free to jump on board, and thanks to the ones that do. So, Ryan, yes, thanks for coming down, mate.
Pleasure.
You were suggested... as someone I should approach from Mecca, Jamin.
Yeah.
Who did a bit of work for me and then had a bit of stuff going on. And anyway, he was like, "Dude, you should talk to this Ryan. He's like pretty interesting sort of fella." And I gave you a bit of a stalk, and he was bang on the money. He was right. So I suppose to start with, what you've been doing recently, you've walked like 600 kilometres from the top of Tassie to the bottom?
It actually fell just shy of 600 kilometres, unfortunately. The original plan was for 629 from the most northern part of mainland Tasmania, north of Woolnorth, right down to the tip of the southeast Cape, which is south of Cockle Creek. Anyway, in a typical fashion of my life, it didn't go according to plan for many reasons. I mean, I didn't set myself up for success entirely in the first place. But, I mean, the objective task, the outcome sort of wasn't necessarily centered around, okay, 629 kilometres or X amount of money raised for JCP Youth or any other target beyond, I guess, paying homage to my friend who had passed away at the end of 25. And I guess to a degree, it was sort of a self-indulgent spiritual journey. It gave me time from my busy daily life to think about his life, to think about his impact on other people, the community, because he was out there a bit. to do something hard in respect of his life. When we had his memorial, we said our goodbyes. It didn't feel complete enough. And he and I had a relationship centered around driving each other, pushing each other, especially in the more recent years, so in the last 5 years. It just didn't feel like enough. It didn't, and I don't know if that's maybe because he was young and because it was very sudden, unexpected. You know, he was only 32, just shy of his 33rd birthday. But I just, and not in a masochistic way, but I needed to suffer. Like,
I totally get that.
You know what I mean? Like, not I'm going to go and bang my head against a wall. In a productive, constructive way of suffering. So something good is going to come out of it. And something he used to say was nothing good comes without struggle. And that's, I think we all can identify or resonate with that through different areas in our lives. But I just needed to hurt a little bit. And the guy, he was a phenomenally hard worker. Never complained. Like we would train together or do one of the various things together. We would go on these ridiculously long, hard hikes for hours on end, unplanned, unprepared. Well, not entirely unplanned, but unprepared. You know, he'd have his camera bag slung around his neck and his bag half hanging off his back, and just chaos. But never complained. Would sit there teeming out with sweat. He was fit as hell too. Like we made it hard on ourselves, but never complained. And I had a lot of things I admired about him, but I guess I sort of thought it brought me back to some of those memories. It allowed me to pay respect through suffering, you know, in the same way that sharing is honourable. I think maybe to a degree, suffering in someone's name in the same, okay, not in the same light as religious aspects, and people will voluntarily say fast, but, you know, it's giving something up in service of something great. It's a spiritual ideal.
So I was just going to say that's so. Firstly, how far did you fall short of 600 k's?
I think in the end, well, there's 2 points worth noting. The first one is my ankle blew up and I had to ride about 200 k's of it, which is a bit of a strange infection thing. I'm not entirely sure. And the other thing was I couldn't actually get to the very tip of the Southeast Cape. Like it would have been not only because it's a national park down there, it would be very frowned upon to just go bush bashing. I don't think I physically could have found a track through there without it taking me days, I think. So 2 elements I kind of fucked up, for lack of a better term. But like I said, it wasn't necessarily the objective outcome that mattered. I think it was 560 kilometres in total.
Yeah, okay. That's so far to walk, man.
Man, it is. I think it was about 200 k's initially, and then I rode for about 200 k's and then walked the last 200 k's. And it was on average like 9 to 12 hour days walking. I tried to keep the weight on my back minimal, and then
what were you like? What was your sort of pack weight?
Initially about 12 kilos, I believe.
It's getting up there.
It's not super efficient. I don't necessarily have the best gear for weight efficiency. Like I've hiked plenty, done plenty of overnights and that sort of thing. But I didn't want to go and throw, you know, like $1,000 at a particular item for the sake of 250 grams, as you could bottomlessly pit throw money into. So it wasn't super weight proficient. I actually did something kind of foolish as well. I thought, I've got like a 5'11" plate carrier that I used to train with. I used to do a bit of CrossFit and stuff. And I thought, you know what I'm doing? This is really comfortable to wear in comparison to my pack, because my pack actually isn't fitted to me very well, like a Black Wolf one. I thought I'll just fucking hang everything off it. And only that, like, it sort of made sense to me. But then after day one, which I entered a little bit too exhausted and not rested, shock and headwind all the way through Wool North, because it's quite open country, because it's a lot of grazing up there. 9 hours, I was fucking wrecked. I was really, really wrecked. I'd rolled my ankle, like, because one of my ankles is already sort of stuffed. Fortunately, that bounced back really quick. And I'd sweat right through everything underneath. Like, I was wearing my sort of windbreaker thing on top, and I'd sweat through 2 layers, and I didn't anticipate how bad I would perspire around the front from the plate carrier. I was like, well, I kind of fucked up there, didn't I? And even the weight distribution, because I wasn't super conditioned to it, it loaded my hips a little bit differently. And it's the kind of thing that only over that time and that amount of kilometres, I think it was like 43 Ks maybe in the first day. Wait. No, it was 50. Oh, bugger if I remember. Anyway, it's only those sorts of times and kilometers that these little differences will really begin to highlight themselves. And also, I had the wrong shoes. I was wearing the night before, we had left my work at like 5 p.m., booted up the northwest coast to stay at my sister's place. And of course, I forgot the most important thing when you're going on a long walk, the right shoes.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing my friggin' Metcon 5s, which is designed for like weightlifting. I was like, fuck it, it'll be right. Anyway, it wasn't very right. It made the start of it a hell of a lot harder. And I finished that night and I was cold and I was a bit miserable and a bit angry. And I thought, oh man, like I didn't really pay this a service of being prepared as I should have been, but fuck it. I'll just keep grinding, and I'll just see what happens. If my body falls apart, and I'll just keep crawling if I have to,
Yeah.
I felt like I'd committed to this thing and I was okay with failing if things were out of my control, because sometimes that can happen, but there was no way I was going to stop in respect to my friend who passed away. While I could still move, I had some power of my own propulsion, I was not going to stop. I'd committed to that ideal heavily. It just hit road bumps.
So you said at the start, what part of the reason of you doing it is you wanted to pay homage, you wanted to suffer a little bit in memory of your mate. Do you feel like you achieved that part of it that you set out to do?
Yeah, because there wasn't too many days I wasn't in discomfort or pain to some degree. And again, for someone who's unfamiliar with the concept, it probably sounds really fucked up that you've got to be in pain to pay respect. And it's not necessarily as black and white as that, but you have to give something of you. I don't know how to put it in good enough words. You have to give something of yourself, okay? Yeah. And sometimes that means pain for me. So there wasn't too many days where I wasn't in some sort of pain or discomfort, at least by the end of the day, even if the anti-inflammatories and Nurofen were masking it pretty well at the start of the day. So yeah, I think I did. And I feel like you hit another psychological state, let's call it, when you're enduring pain for long enough. You almost hit like a I don't know, almost like a meditative state. You sort of just accept the pain and you get better at managing it. And I'm not sure if certain chemicals are being released to counteract that pain or something are going on, but it starts to elevate your consciousness a little bit. And I've experienced this with other things in the past. Fighting. I've experienced that with fighting. You hit, it's like almost like a flow state, but not necessarily through athletic expression. And you start to experience things differently. And yeah, I would say I scratched that itch, let's say. I felt like I paid it the respect it deserved and what I tried to achieve on that end of things, for sure.
I listened to a podcast. I can't remember who it was or on what show it was, but it was about marathon runners. It was a well-known... they were talking about Goggins. That's right. But it was talking about Goggins with some other marathon runner. And apparently a common theme with people that do things like that long-term endurance, be it running or walking or whatever, is that you disassociate yourself from that task. So like people that run marathons, they're not running marathons. Like this one person, it was something like... It was like digging a hole or cutting a tree or something like that. That's where they went to. That's what they were doing. Each step was like a movement towards their goal, which wasn't running a marathon. Did you get like that?
I think so. I wouldn't say that I try and surrogate the activity out and imagine I'm doing, like people say they're hungry, so they think about, some other need or desire or something that is being satisfied in that moment. I don't necessarily try and shut it out or surrogate it out. It's more just like, I don't know, maybe it's the environment. I'll look around, there's Hart's Mountain. Oh, these trees are nice. Gee, the birds are nice here. Oh, these roads are a bit poorly kept. Oh, bloody Tasmanian council, Or, wow, that's a beautiful house. I don't know if I'm just too easily distracted that it like...
You're probably seeing the good, it's like you're suffering, you're hurting and stuff, but you're still looking around going, oh, this is something positive to take away from it, sort of thing.
Perhaps, but at the same time, every 30 seconds I'm revisiting, fucking hell, that hurts, that's uncomfortable, because I'm not a hard... nail, I don't sort of like, let's say Goggins, that dude is gnarly in his mindset. I wouldn't even register on the same scale. So I definitely don't have any sort of mental approach that definitely not a conscious one. I
Yeah.
think I'm just easily distracted is probably all it is, like, oh, like I said, there's a fish jumping over there. Cool. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
nice fishing boat. Or, oh, there's an old banged up yonder. I wonder what they do for a living. Like, that's my brain 100 miles an hour.
I think about that with everything, every day, every like task, everything that I see in life. I'm the same. Like just, and now more since like getting sober and stuff. I'm aware of myself a lot more and think a lot more, sort of thing. But yeah, like you'll go somewhere new and like see people walking down the street, like, where'd you come from? What are you doing? Like, what's your life like at home? Have you got pets? Like, I think about it all the fucking time, man.
Mate, so do I. Or what were you thinking when you put those pants on this morning? Like.
But there was probably people like us watching you walk down. What the fuck is he doing? Like,
mate, I'm sure that's frequent with how people see me dress. But it's. I don't know if that's part of that. Like, what do they call that thing where it's the voice inside your head? You're sort of talking to yourself. You have your own narration, so to speak. Or it's just another level of observation. But some people, I don't think, can escape their own heads and just sort of are so consumed about what they've got going on that maybe they can't be too observant of the outside world. And I definitely get in those sorts of when I'm wearing some stress, I struggle to break out of that and take in what's around me. And it's funny too, because my partner's the complete opposite in that regard. She'll just be looking around and admiring the birds, and life's all wonderful and dandy. And I'm just like, fuck it, I've got to pay for this, and what am I doing that?
Yeah.
So when I can escape that, then I become more observant.
Yeah.
And maybe pain and suffering helps pull me to that, because in the immediate moment, nothing is more stressing than that.
yeah, yeah.
So
I read there was something else. I think it was a video, a little snippet I watched somewhere. There was this bloke who looked somewhat homeless. I don't know if it was staged or not, or whether this guy was just really insightful. But it was something along the lines of, like the world's pretty high stress for a lot of people and whatnot, and a lot of people are really quick to like judge others in like you're a bad person, sort of thing. Whereas as humans, we should be, and not think, oh, you're a bad person, but you've got stuff going on that you're struggling with. You're not attacking me in this situation or anything like that, but you've got stuff going on that you're struggling to handle that is like, that's flowing out into this situation, sort of thing.
I think, excuse me, people sort of project their own shit subconsciously without
100%.
realizing that they're doing it, I think until you go through a process of deep self-awareness, a lot of people tend to, and I was guilty of that. You look through your own subjective lens at everything in comparisons, or your own insecurities, and project them on other people. And sometimes it's a mirror looking back at yourself,
Yeah. So this walk, anyway. So back to the walk. So it was a I mean, that's a massive journey. It's a massive walk. But you did it in 14 days is what underfoot. What did you do it in the end?
That was the cap that I gave myself, just because I had to go back to work on Monday the 16th. But I ended up doing it 11 days. And
Yeah, okay.
I think the only real reason for that is the couple of days on the bike. Obviously, it spattered me up a little bit. There was for example, I think we rode 110 Ks on the second day on the bike. And there's no way I was obviously ever going to walk that within a 24-hour period, which also had its own targets. My quads were killing me. I'm not used to sitting on a bike seat that much. The most riding I do is putting the young fella in the bar in front of me. We ride down to the
which is
park or
pretty
whatever.
tame, like
Very much so. So like this, I think we stayed at the Ooze pub that night. I can't even think of what it's called. Really classy accommodation, by the way. Sorry, Ooze pub owner, if you're listening. But I got up and I said to Adam, the guy who's riding me, I was like, mate, I've got like an ass on the bottom of my ass because it's so swollen. I was like, I can't sit on my seat today. I'm going to have to stand up the whole time. Seriously, it's fucking sore. And then even standing up was hard enough on my quads. So I'm trying to like, what pain do I want to deal with? The pain of my ass or the pain of my quads? So that was hard enough in itself, but it did speed things up a little bit. It was actually quite cool riding down through Bronte Park. We took a bit of a gravel road past D Lagoon and down through Strickland, which I'd never been before. Great, really cool little shack community, beautiful little lake as well, and one I'd like to go back to. I'd never actually passed through there. Unfortunately, the last like hour of that down to Ooze was all downhill, which is a fucking blessing, but bumpy, so hard on the ass. Like it was, I'm pretty sure I've still got like hardened skin at the bottom of my ass. Like it doesn't feel right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, so 11 days. 11 days. I'm not sure what the average makes that per day, but yeah, again, the bike did make that a little bit easier, but forced upon that a little bit based on the ankle sort of being a bit treacherous.
Did you have a bike as a backup, or was that like a fuck, I've gone, like, did you call it in last minute sort of thing?
Well, I did have it in mind. I sort of thought if the ankle that I anticipated to have issues, which it actually didn't so much aside from rolling a little bit the first day, I thought if that decides to really cark it in, then I'll jump on the bike. But no, like I still had my kid's seat on it, like I don't have road tyres or anything on it. So it definitely wasn't really a priority plan B. But when I woke up, I can't remember what date it was, maybe the 5th, and my ankle was real red, hot, swollen and itchy and throbbing. And I still sort of had the chills, like I still had a low body temperature. So I felt like, because I was burnt out, I felt the signs of infection. I thought, I can't keep going on this ankle. And I was supposed to start doing the overland track the next day.
Oh, that was part of you did, yeah, right.
Well, that was the intent. I'll come back to that. I can talk about it now because I didn't actually end up breaking any laws, but we'll come back to that. But I stayed at my sister's place that night, and I said to my nephew, because my sister had gone to work, and I said, mate, I think I'm going to have to get you to run me to Launceston, and I'm going to have to get my bike because I can't keep walking. And he said, yeah, that's cool. So I bought him some breakfast and we went and picked up my bike, and it was actually good. I said good day to the missus and young fella before they flew to South Australia, and jumped on the bike that afternoon, met Adam at Elizabethtown at 3. So that was where we re-diverted to from, instead of Cradle Mountain, to do the overland. Do you want me to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, go for it, man.
So the plan was to incorporate the overland track, and the reason for that was Jeb and I had been up there a bunch of times. We'd done Barn Bluff, Cradle Mountain. We actually went to walk the overland in like 3 days without a pass at one stage. And I thought what I'd do, if any parks officers are watching this, they're going to be shaking their head. I thought what I would do is we'll go up there. If we run into a parks officer, we'll just play ignorant and we'll take a hike. Anyway, we hit one at Waterfall Valley Hut, which is over the back of Cradle Mountain. Oh, guys, I'm going to have to turn you around, so on, so on. And, oh, yeah, sure, mate, no worries. So we walk back up the track. We have a very civil discussion about how we should approach this, whether we should just ignore said parks officer or whether we should just keep going. Now, just for the record, I understand why they have these control measures with with the overland passes. I understand they exist for a reason. Those reasons don't apply to me. And like, in all seriousness, if there's a law that I believe is built around a fallacy, I'm just flat out going to ignore it. Yeah. Aside from maybe registering my car. But anyway, so we turned around. Now, my plan was I wrote to parks probably a couple months prior to starting the journey, and requested special permission because for the dates I wanted to do it, it was all booked out. Expectedly, March is the most popular time of the year to do it. Yeah. The woman I spoke to sounded very optimistic. Yeah, sure, they'll help you out. Waited for an email, sent them a couple of emails in the meantime, and basically just got a blanket no. No explanation or anything. Not that they necessarily owed me one, but I think what it came down to is they didn't want the responsibility. No single individual wanted the responsibility saying yes, and then if something went south, maybe they would get in trouble, and understandable. I can understand that. Anyway, I ended up speaking to Ask for Tas Walking Company and spoke to us for their help. They unfortunately couldn't help either, although the guy I spoke to, Heath, he tried his best to work something out. Anyway, I said to my friend, I said, mate, if you're coming along, this is a risk. I said, we could get a fine. I said, we are likely to run into a fine.
Do you know what the fine is?
I think it says up to $3,000.
Shit!
But just for the record, as far as I understand, and I'm not encouraging anyone to do this, I can understand it's reckless, but this is coming from someone with extensive experience in bushwalking and the overland track and sections of it, that, where was it going with it? Yeah, so no one has actually got a fine, as far as I understand. Now, anyway, my friend being the TISM type that he is, he's going to Canada in 5 weeks, and he said there could be a potential court appearance for trespassing if if they tell us we have to leave and we don't, because that was potentially part of the plan. Like I said, this is preempting breaking the law, right? And he said, I can't really take that risk of going out of the country. Little do we know at the time that they can't summon someone if they're actually out of the country. So we could have gone and done it. But I said, fuck it. Look, that's fine. This is the night before we're supposed to be up at Cradle. I said, look, bugger it. We'll can that. I said, my ankle's stuffed anyway, so it's possibly a blessing. I said, imagine if we're in the middle of the overland track. I've got this shocking infection. I've got to be chopping out, and I'm not even supposed to be there. Like, you would be front page of everything. 100%. And look, and deservedly hated. Like, and it sounds a little bit ironic, considering I'm acknowledging that I'd be blatantly ignoring some laws there, but knowing my full capabilities and what I can tolerate and endure. And with someone else, if I had to hang my arm over his shoulder and carry me the rest of the way, but I thought, well, there's no way I can realistically do it myself and without potentially, using those resources. And I don't want to be that guy. So I was we just diverted.
I think a large part of the reason they have those is that every single year, I swear, there's that many people that get rescued, either by chopper or people walking in. They go, for those that don't know, the overland track is how many? 3 days or 4 days?
6 days.
Oh, 6 days. There you go. 6 days. And it's an amazing walk through Tasmania. But there's a lot of predominantly tourists. Well, they're not pretty much always tourists that go unprepared with not the right clothing, not enough food or water, and have to get rescued. And it's this I don't know about you, but on all the local community pages or the news reporting page and stuff, every time they announce that someone's been rescued, they just get pumped, they're paying for the chopper, and this is why this and that. So I think that's why they try and regulate it a lot.
Absolutely. It's 100% from the safety aspect to accommodate for the contingent that's unprepared. And then how do you negate that against the local populace that are experienced? What do? You say, no, here's my qualification for 10 years of bushwalking and I have all the gear. Like you can't filter that. No. So it's just a blanket. You've got to do the safety brief. But you've got to pay the money.
It's like anything. I swear, like so much stuff in life. It's just everything gets watered down. We just get told no because we're carting to the lowest common denominator in whatever aspect that is. So it's just like, well, 1,000 people will do the right thing. 2 won't. So we'll just shit it for everyone. Shit can it.
A little bit like a safety label on a bottle of methylated spirits saying this is poison, do not drink.
Yeah.
Thanks for stating the obvious. But yeah, so I exist. Don't get me wrong. I understand their purpose and I acknowledge that. I obviously just think I am special and can ignore such things. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. The truth is that I trust my capabilities more so than I trust the faith of such laws, I guess. Once again, acknowledging why they exist. Look, I could talk around in circles in me trying to justify it, but
I'm somewhat similar. I don't have the physical ability at the moment to sort of go, I'll push through that, the overland track regardless. And, I know that I could overcome everything, but you're a physically fit dude and you're very motivated. I think the same about other things, this is a bit of ridiculous. It's not so much a law, it's like a guideline, what they're trying to stop is not going to affect me,
Yeah, look, and then you could also argue, but if everyone thought that way, well, not necessarily everyone does think that way.
No, that's
right. But again, if I have the information, the full scope of the information of why a law exists, let's say deer hunting regulation, something you understand. Now we know, interesting, right? Now we know that deer populations are growing and creating all sorts of havoc on the agricultural industry. Now, I'm not saying I partake in this, nor am I promoting it. But if a deer jumps over into my fence, hypothetically, and I'm supposed to call whatever government department to come in, I'm not going to do that. No. I'm gonna shoot it, and I'm going to utilize its resources. Yeah. I'm not gonna waste it. I'm not doing it with any sort of animosity, hatred, or looking to be cruel. It's the most natural, productive means for controlling the thing. Now I'm not gonna. So the laws around that are absurd. So there's an example of a law that I would blatantly ignore because it's bullshit, and because I understand all of the collective information why these laws exist and the bureaucracy and so on, and I'm just going to ignore it. That's just the truth.
A couple of years ago, he's a perfect example of that. A couple of years ago, a property I was hunting, it was a grazing property years ago. Now it's predominantly in forestry. There's patches of pasture still, but not much. So none of the fences have been maintained for many, 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 many years. A lot of them are on the ground and whatnot. Because there's no livestock, but it's rife with deer, absolutely lousy. Anyway, I was walking along, and and I can hear like this bleating, like this a fawn in distress sort of thing, and I'm walking along this fence line, walking along, and you know how you get like the two top wires sort of like that. This fawn had jumped and got its back leg caught in it, and so it was like hanging upside down with, you know, basically just its head barely resting on the ground, and it's caught in this fence. It's stag season, so like, and the doe season hadn't started yet. So to the letter of the law, I can't, I tried to get this thing out, and I radioed the other guys. I couldn't get it out. Like, this thing's carrying on. It's trying to bite me, and it's pulling as I'm trying to separate this wire. I just couldn't do it. So the letter of the law, I can't kill that animal because it's stag season. The doe season hasn't started yet. But then from the ethical hunting point of view, like, I could still lose my firearms license because I'm not being an ethical hunter because I'm leaving that animal there to suffer. I radioed the guys over the radio. No one really said too much. I got back to camp and they were like, well, where is it? And I was like, well, doesn't matter what, won't say what happened. But anyway, but as they said, they were like, you do, like, you know, you should have killed it. Like, that's that's what ended up happening. Like, I did kill it, but then it was, it's that hard thing. That law's in place, so people aren't fanging about killing stuff in stags. So, when you're not supposed to be. But this animal was in distress, and I made every effort to get it out, and I couldn't. But technically, I was breaking the law.
So the law doesn't allow for individual circumstances and individual discernment, because that would suggest that everyone's capable of rational decision making, which a lot of people are not. However, what I like to believe is, old Johnny Law's sitting in the bush. He happens to see you by some strange circumstance, see you commit this thing. I like to believe that he would go, well, that's a sensible approach. Of course, you did the right thing. Don't worry about it, dude. Keep going. I like to believe that would be how it would play out. That's what
it came down to. Like, because we took the animal back, and Parks and stuff came. He was like, just explain it to him. Like, if it was someone who had no idea about hunting, about being in the outdoors, anything like that, someone sitting in an office somewhere, if they saw it like on paper, they might go, that was wrong. But the people that would be on the ground, that would be the ones sort of initiating any potential, charge or question or something like that, they go, well, you did the right thing. You made every effort. But, I mean, and not only that, like, as you said, at the end of the day, even though that law is in place, I was comfortable breaking that law, because to me, that was the right thing to do.
Yeah. And look, as we had a brief chat about COVID previously, sometimes the moral right is not necessarily aligned with the legal right. And that's when I ignore blatant laws, that's what I'm referencing to. Yeah. It's not that I've got no respect for authority. I understand the need for authority and laws for the sake of social cohesion or whatever. Oh, geez, I hate that term now. But the sake of society functioning practically, I understand there's a need for it. But certain laws are not necessarily centered around the moral right or good, and I will just ignore a lot of them. And you provided the perfect example of when it is right, I think, to break the law, because you're euthanizing, for lack of a better term, euthanizing an animal that's in distress, that's in trouble. And what would it have ended up just starving there in pain?
Oh, crows would have taken, the crows would have taken its eyes. We've seen that happen, when lambs, ewes go down when they're giving birth. Like, the crows will take their eyes while they're laying down.
Really? I've never seen that.
Oh, man, it's savage, dude.
Yeah, okay.
They're laying down giving birth. The crows will come in and take their eyes.
Fair
it's brutal. But so that would have been the first thing. And then, literally die of dehydration, I guess. Upside down as well. Like, it'd be a horrendous way to go. I've walked across, deer and kangaroo and stuff that are like just bones hanging a fence from going that way. Wouldn't be good.
Did you see the clip only that was circulating maybe a month ago of the guy who resuscitated the deer? It had choked itself with a fence. Yeah, how unreal,
dude! I watched that so hard because the coming of AI, I suppose, sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
I watched that, and I'm no expert, but I think it's legit. But that's it's unbelievable.
I was cheering that guy on. I was like, "Come on, dear, come on!" That was pretty cool.
And that's the other thing. People think that hunters and that are just going out and like everything's got to die, but
it's coming right for us.
Yeah. But like stuff like that, and you see the ones like when you often see two stags or two bucks, they'll get locked together fighting, and people, separating them, letting them run on. Like there's a whole other side to it. But
There's, when people discuss hunting that, have no necessarily set viewpoints, no ethics surrounding it, I often say, watch Donnie Vincent. Are you familiar with Donnie Vincent?
no,
Oh, mate. So he is the ideal ethos regarding hunting. He has such a rounded, sensible, and conscious approach to hunting. He's actually like an environmental biologist and conservationist. So he'll only hunt in areas in which he's assisting the balance of populations, and really further again, will manual handle everything that he kills himself. Pack everything out, like really suffer for days for the right bull, for example. I know that phenomenal videographer.
Yeah.
His production company's named Sigmanta, and they make really cool videos. Really, and he's really the storyteller as well. So you've really got to have a look. Phenomenal videos. I absolutely love his stuff.
I'll have a look. I get a bit when I was younger. I mean, I grew up not hunting. It was more like shooting, vermin control sort of thing, spotlighting, and then came into hunting as I got a bit older. But and as I get older, I get quite often, as strange as it sounds, to like if I shoot a deer, and go out and shoot a deer, and then I often thank that animal, which is, I mean, a younger me. If a younger me heard me saying that now, they'd be like, "You cockhead! Why are you doing that? It's ridiculous." But as I get older, I suppose I'm a lot more aware and appreciative of, this is feeding my, it's food. It's feeding my family and stuff.
I not only respect, but I can relate to that entirely. I used to be young, reckless, no value for life of any form. And I think once you mature, especially emotionally mature, and understand the spiritual aspects of life, I do exactly the same thing. And look, for part of one of my businesses I manage is doing home kill, right? So
yeah, you're a butcher,
yeah, by trade. So I always feel bad pulling the trigger on an animal. It never feels good to take a life. Yeah. And I sort of started this practice, and sometimes get a little bit tied up from the business aspect and how the person whose cattle I'm killing, how they are feeling and so on. Like a lot of people, it's the old house cow or whatever. They've hand reared some of them. So I'm very conscious about how I don't want to interrupt their, passing of an animal they care about. But I went through a practice over quite a while where I do exactly the same thing. Thank you for the life that you're giving us, because our all life is only sustained by consuming life of one form or another. Yeah. Not necessarily directly hand to mouth, but life must die in some form for other life to perpetuate. So I think being the conscious animal, we have a responsibility to pay respect and be decisive and in our approach. And so furthermore, like I said, spiritual element, you're taking the energy from something. And I think it's also good to put good energy back out, from, especially in the face of something as awful as having to shoot, awful is probably a little bit exaggerated, but having to shoot an animal, let's say, because it's also very rewarding. It's quite a conflicting thing. When it becomes a little more than just shooting, I think, my kids come out with me there. I mean, the easiest thing that they sort of tackle is rabbits. Rabbits are easy to skin and stuff, and they love it. They can pick them up and carry them back to the buggy and stuff. So if we go out spotlighting and shoot rabbits, and oh man, I can't sort of, I struggle to put into words. And I don't think there's anything that would sort of compare to it. But go out there, harvest a rabbit, watching the kids go and pick it up, and then we skin it, and then cleaning it and preparing it and cooking it, and then watching everyone, my family, sit around the table, eat it. It feels like complete. That's how the cycle is supposed to go. We've harvested. I mean, people make the argument it's an unfair advantage now because you got firearms and all. I mean, to a point. I'm not going to throw rocks at it. It's what we've got available to us. That whole cycle, it's good, man. It's the right balance, I think, using firearms. It's not cruel,
no,
but it's also not outsourcing the process yourself. So I think it's the perfect balance. If you ask me, it still requires skill. It still requires decision making of a skilled level. But what you described there, it's almost talking to our ancestral blood memory, right? Like this process of cultivating the food that's on your plate from start to finish. And it's something really holistic about it that speaks to the soul and says to you, this is the way it's meant to be. No one ever picked up a packet of mints in the supermarket and it's like, Wow, what a hearty, heartfelt meal of bolognese this is
Yeah.
going to make, because it's so separated from the spiritual process.
I get that. I don't think I've completely formed my opinion of it all, but you get, you hear those people that it's like, oh, I love a good steak, but I just want it in front of me. I don't want to know about its upbringing and all that sort of stuff, which personally, I couldn't be further from the truth for me. Like, there's nothing better in my mind, an animal that has lived its life, seen very few, if any, human beings, lived its life, and then it's just there eating, and then one day it's just lights out. It's so much more humane than. I know it's what we got to do to feed the masses and stuff, but to getting pushed onto like trucks, it'd be stress and all that sort of stuff. Go in, bolt gun to the back of the head. It's not very personal.
Look, doing home kill that I do, I mean, that's one of the advantages. And look, how long you got? I could talk about this for hours, but obviously that's a very unnatural commercial process. It puts the animal through unnecessary stress, and look, I've worked on kill floors, I've worked in the yards of kill floors, I've worked in every aspect of the industry, and as horrible as it is to say, those animals smell the blood when those gates open. Yeah. They know what's coming. They stress out. They're backing up to the gate. It's awful. But it's also, like you said it yourself, you've got to feed the masses. Yeah. There's no more... we can't all have acreages. It's no more practical way to do it, as long as we're being as humane in the process.
Yeah.
And if we have the resources to have the cow in the paddock chewing away, all of a sudden lights out, all the better. Yeah, unfortunately, not everyone has those the access to such things. But I think what you highlighted there was choosing to be ignorant about the process. Now, not everyone has to go and pick up a bit of wood and help build their house. Not everyone has to help dig the bloody drains for their sewage, because there's no life being consumed in that. You're building something, and I'm sure if you cut down the trees on your property and they build your house, I'm sure it's a hell of a lot more meaningful and a lot more heartfelt. But a living animal that's right in front of you, and you're taking something from that life, and choose to not acknowledge that and close your eyes to that process entirely. And again, I'm not saying that everyone has to go and kill the animal themselves. I think everyone at least once should witness it. I think we owe that responsibility to the life that we're consuming, because it's like paying respect, like carrying your own damn water from the well. Like you've got to do it sometimes to respect it and appreciate it, and you'll be less wasteful. And look, there's a pretty big philosophy around that I do talk about a lot, because we are so disconnected from where our food comes from.
For sure. Westy, my other half, Chantel, I was talking to her, so a bit of a backstory. A mate of mine, or a few people I know, are like doing fasting and stuff, intermittent fasting and this and that. One a group of my friends in particular, they've been like eating once a day, which is usually at the end of the day.
Hang on, for like long periods of time, like every day or?
Every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, and they've been loving it, and I've been like, since I've stopped drinking and smoking, I've put on a fair bit of weight, and I know I need to do other stuff to build up my fitness. But I was like, I'll give this a bit of a run, and I've been doing it in fits and spurts. Like, I haven't eaten today. I ate a heap yesterday. Haven't eaten today. But anyway, so some of the days I'm doing it, like my stomach will get smaller and I can't eat as much as what I usually can. So Chantel will be there like plating up tea, and I'll be like, I don't want much, like rah. And admittedly, I haven't told her beforehand, so she's still cooked heaps, but she'll load my plate up and then I'll eat tea, and then at the end of it, I'll just be like, fuck, mate. She's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I told you I didn't want much. She's like, you didn't have to eat it all. And I was like, I do. Because, that's the way that I was, what's in front of you, you eat.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, and and not only that, not being wasteful and all that sort of stuff.
For sure.
So that's, but yeah, that was the big thing, like, because all our meat came from the farm when we were growing up. Even though we didn't live here, it was the whole, eat what's on your plate.
Yeah, look, and absolutely.
This episode of Life Inside the Salad Bowl is proudly brought to you by Enhanced Performance. Now, these guys have got these sleep gummies. I've had them out for a while. A mate sent them to me not that long ago. They've got botanicals in them that tell your body it's time to sleep. No nasty crap. They've got reishi, magnesium 3-in-8, chamomile and passion flower. They say on the packet take them half an hour before bed. Personally, I was taking them an hour or two before bed. If I've got a lot going on and I struggle to switch off, it just makes it easier. Helps me block out the noise, calm things down, and actually be present in conversations instead of my mind wandering elsewhere. They're not like a sleeping pill. You don't wake up groggy. They are honestly the bee's knees. Give them a run. The only thing you've got to lose is shitty sleep. Google enhanced sleep gummies.
It's almost like someone sets those parameters with putting amount of food. It's like it becomes this unconscious chart. Like I've got to finish it, right? Because it's on my plate. I have to finish it. Fasting's an interesting one though. So it's a little bit like carnivore diets and so on and so on. I don't wane heavily any which one way. I think there's a lot of elements. There's data to consider. There's long-term data to consider, right? And there are certain benefits. There are pros and cons to every approach.
I mean, sorry to jump in. Not only that, each individual would be different. Like what works for you wouldn't work for me as well, would it?
So that's a very important point to highlight. So probably one of the most important points, actually, especially when it comes to the debate around diets, in terms of, gee, I've been doing vegan for 10 years. I feel great. My blood work's great. I'm healthy and so on. Cool. And then another person might do it for 10 years and their health completely collapses. Like it's suggested that there's a pretty big genetic component to what our bodies can tolerate or work well under and so on. But then there are like objective parameters too, like your blood work and so on. For example, fasting, if you don't eat over a 16-hour window, the process of autophagy, cell regeneration, speeds up. So like that inhibits cancer cell growth and numerous other beneficial factors, decreases inflammation. Like, so people always feel, at least in the short term, feel significantly better because a lot less inflammation. And inflammation causes a whole lot of bloody follow-on issues with the body, not even just physically, but psychologically as well because of the chemicals in our brain. And having worked in the fitness industry for a lot of time, I get thrown these questions regularly. And all I say is like, just try something. Yeah. Does it work with your lifestyle? If it's not sacrificing your health in the process, then it's got to be a win, right? But one thing I'll pretty much blatantly promote is high protein, undeniable. That's effectively non-negotiable for health, even and or performance, of course, regardless of what you do day to day. And probably eating sufficient amount as well, and that's probably fasting, great tool for fat loss, great tool for improving health, potentially short term. Long term can be tricky to maintain the balance for adequate protein and caloric intake to get to a point in which you're feeding your body adequately. What
time frames are we talking here when you say short term to long term? Like
Well, it depends on the individual.
It
depends on like how overweight they are, hypothetically. It depends on maybe how much information they need to draw from their body. Yeah. I mean, it's all subjective. And that's, although we're all human beings, we are all still individuals. Although we all have the same or pretty similar biology, let's say, we do still respond differently to some things, like I was explaining with the vegan diet. So there is a degree of subjectivity. And it's funny how many people like to believe themselves being the outlier that, you know, like, oh no, but my body. And so there's also a huge psychological element, but I feel better doing this. Yeah, is it the excitement? Is it because it's new? Is it just that short-term window while your body's still getting better and better? Like,
I mean, it could not only be someone else at work's doing it and then you feel included because you've got something to relate to, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but then sometimes, let's say, there's a huge, all of a sudden your mental health improves because of that factor you just described. Maybe that overrides the negative of the physical diet's effects, you know, mate. So like I think we want to persecute people a little too hard, because, especially in the fitness industry, dude. People get so dogmatic because people don't follow what they do, what they believe to be right.
And they are wrong, and fucking how dare you even put it out there that that's what you do.
Exactly.
Like your whole bloodline needs to be wiped.
Like bodybuilding's stupid. You know, jiu-jitsu is better than karate. Like it's fucking just... We're individuals at the same time, you know, and we all have our individual experiences, and we've all got to do what works within our lifestyles that maintains our health and happiness. I think just not being delusional, not being desperate, not compromising our health. They're probably the biggest things. And sometimes it requires a little bit of navigation, taking information from different people, from different sources, but also having enough of a knowledge base to discern. Yeah. And that's where it's hard.
It's fun. So before we started, when we were talking about my journey with the piss, like, you know, alcohol and all that, and how I mentioned to you before I went into detox and rehab, the doctor did blood works, and then 6 months after, when I gave it all away, when I got out, we did it again to see if there was any long-term damage and whatnot that I did. He came back and said, no, it was all sweet. I just felt, I was like, something's not right. Like, I'm missing something. So I went and saw a naturopath. And she was amazing. Like, yeah, I was always thought this is like hippie witchcraft, like this is crap. I went there and she honestly changed up my world and helped me understand a lot of stuff as well. So she was asking me, like I gave her my whole backstory, and we got to the point where she's asked me what my diet's like, and I was saying to her like fucking onions and garlic, mainly onions. Like I could eat, like I just can't get enough of them. And this was only, you know, I'd stopped drinking for, I don't know, like 12 months or something at this point, and I'm still feeling myself out both mentally and physically with you know, how life is sort of thing from being off the piss. Anyway, onions and all this other stuff that I was eating, but mainly the onions. And she was like, wow, that's interesting. And we did blood work for me as well. She did, which looked more in depth at if I'd done any damage to like my liver mainly, but any part of my body, which I had a little bit, and it was like inflamed. And one of the things that ex-alcoholics, maybe alcoholics in general, get is pericarditis, which is inflammation around the heart. Mm-hmm. So my liver was having a bit of a rough trot, and I was still at this point going in and out of hospital thinking I was having like, oh, something's not right, like it's my ticker, and they said you got pericarditis. I go and see this naturopath, and I was saying about the onions, and she was like, makes total sense. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, onions is one of the biggest reducers of inflammation. And she was like, so while you're eating that, I was like, I could just, I don't know. I'd have them on everything, like either cooked or raw. Fucking can't get enough of onions. And she was like, she's like, that's the sort of stuff, like, don't doubt yourself. Like, you're aware of it, you know?
You'd be surprised, I think. Okay, so you'd been hypothetically numbing your body for a long time.
Excuse me, fuck. Sedating myself every day.
So you're simultaneously suppressing your natural instincts. You know, your body's, because it will try and talk to you if you're in a state in which it can, and it talks you through. You're right. It'll talk to you through, let's say, you know, the desire for onions. Now, some people might try and justify, my body's telling me I need to eat a block of chocolate, you know. Like, sometimes that's a corruption of the hormones. It's not always correct. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to advocate for always listening to your desires, but the human body's incredible. And when we're in tune with it, when we're at peace, you know, relatively low stress, healthy, you know, you're on your body's probably desperate to fucking talk to you about, you know, so it's amazing what it'll tell you what you let it. And my experience and I haven't had actually any direct experience with naturopaths, but I know numerous people that have, little things like the color of your gums, the color of your eyelids, and the signals that your body's trying to send you about X, Y, and Z. But look, what you highlighted there is our modern criticisms of holistic approaches, like approaches to health management that have existed since we've been able to write books or whatever the case is, that only in more recent years have we just dismissed as jargon because of modern medical approaches, which I think are, and I won't go on a tangent about this, but I think widely corrupted and incentivized. But yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like we could talk about the introduction of petrochemicals into pharmaceuticals and how the Rockefellers revolutionized changed the whole education system regarding treatment of. Anyway, I won't go into that because that's another thing I could talk about for an hour. But like I said, you highlighted something really, really interesting. Garlic is also obviously incredibly good for you, many aspects as well. But were there any other cravings, like, out of curiosity?
There was, I can't remember. This is a little while ago now. So, but they were like the biggest ones, and like just meat. I mean, I've always been a big like meat eater sort of thing. I'm very basic. Like Westy criticises my cooking, or what she calls my version of cooking, but I'm like really basic. Like she cooks these amazing, extravagant meals and stuff, but I'm just like, I feel like meat and onions, and that's what I'll eat. You know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. But what she did, the naturopath, was because I was like, oh, you know, I'm up pissing heaps and like in the night, and that frustrates me and this and that. And she was like, yeah, like all this shit just come back to your liver. And she was like, pump veggies, and it was amazing. Like I ate that, and I was like, oh, because I eat veggies, but not like by themselves. She was like, just fucking get into them. So I'd be eating them like breakfast, lunch, and tea. And straight away, it was like my body was just like, this is what we've been telling you. Like this is what we need. It felt awesome. I've strayed away a little bit from it now, but Yeah.
You've got to eat the rainbow. You like all the micronutrients, and they all have their place and purpose within the human body and how it functions. And you can get away with not necessarily eating broccoli every day, or any of that sort of thing, But like I said previously, the biggest component there is protein intake, especially red meat beef. Despite the fact it's been demonized by every modern friggin' health organization or whatever, I'm here to tell you they are wrong.
Have you seen, like, it came out recently, which I always felt sus about, the food pyramid?
Oh, yeah.
It's only been like in the last year or two sort of thing, or maybe even like sooner. But it came out and they were just like, there's nothing to back that up. That was some like corporate, someone that was like trying to sell like cereal products and stuff. So they just knocked it up and was like, this is what we're doing.
It's so, you know what's funny as well is you've probably got still a massive contingent of, let's say, Australian society that, because that's what they were brought up to believe, and there's no real reason to stray from that, they'll probably still die on that damn hill that it's perfectly fine, or convince themselves because bread's the bulk of their diet or whatever. But when I started learning about nutrition properly, not even just for performance and so on, you sort of start to realize that how much of what the average person believes is fucking so backwards, or not even necessarily backwards, but misdirected hugely, and it makes me concerned for the health. And our health is obviously statistically gradually getting worse. Living longer but less healthy, more obese, etc. And I think there's a lot of programs for treatment and so on, but not enough people are asking why. And they'll say, because we don't chop wood as much and so on. It's fucking way more than that.
It's the numbers, man. Like the fucking numbers are on. You look at the ingredients and stuff. Like it is nuts. The amount of stuff. And I heard like on another podcast, an American one. It might have been Rogan, I think maybe. It was saying about how, like, so over there they got the FDA, what's is and isn't allowed in food.
Corrupt as fuck.
Yeah, but they're just inundated. Like, it's just constantly, and I've noticed it with other stuff in life. But it's just like, okay, say for example, putting stuff in food. It's like, all right, well, we want to put, let's use chlorine in the water. So let's use that. Oh, you can't do that. But then they like shit just seems to get manufactured, and but if this and that, and it just seems to get pushed and pushed and pushed until it's to a point where that's all right then. Like, you can do that, and that's what it seems like with everything, and that's what this guy was saying about the FDA, is that all this stuff, that these fillers and this shit to make things last longer on the shelf and all that sort of stuff, which is just so bad, but it's pushed, and this has changed, but this science says this and that. Like, I swear there is a way to make anything that you want. You can make science bloody agree with it.
There are companies literally centered around providing data to support whatever you want it to. So that's why I a long time ago stepped away from such science-based beliefs, because too much of it is also corruptible. You know what I mean? And I think you point out a good point there. I think what they've done basically with a lot of these additives, so they serve a purpose, right? Like increase profit, shelf life, taste, whatever the case is. But it's like, we'll put them in there, and as long as we're not seeing any sort of repercussions of health, we should be okay, right? Yeah. But I think what we are seeing widespread is those repercussions. Yeah. And a lot of contributing factors, don't get me wrong. The human body's incredibly resilient, and it'll take a hell of a lot of beating for a hell of a lot of time. But it'll tell you there's shit going wrong with all this weird shit we're not designed to consume, I believe. So, again, just eat fucking protein and
then it comes down to like the time frame. It's so like time is a big issue. Everyone work like most places have got like dual income families, and they've got kids. It's come home from work, what's quick and easy. It's hard to go to the butcher's every night and that sort of stuff. And
hell yeah, I sympathise with that. It requires planning. It requires foresight. What day am I going to go to the market and get the veggies? What day am I going to go to the butcher and so on? But what my partner and I don't really seem to understand is how health is not a huge priority in the average household. Yeah. And, like, people prioritise some strange things. We all have our individual lifestyles. I'm not criticising, but I don't know how that's not an enormous priority, especially as parents. Yeah. How the health of your children isn't one of the greatest priorities in your life. Because not just so they live long and old, but so their life can be full at the same time. Yeah. So they have the capabilities of expressing life to its full extent, because they have the health to do so.
I suppose because doctors are the be all and end. I've said it on here. Doctors are good at keeping you alive, and that's it. But everyone's if I feel you can get a tablet for, I feel anxious, instead of maybe it's the shit I'm putting in myself, or maybe I need to get out in the sun more or be more social and stuff like that. I'll go and get this tablet, which that sort of shit they don't even they'll tell you they don't understand how it works.
Dude, they're just masks.
Yeah,
All medication effectively just treat symptoms, not problems.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's probably an unfair blanket statement, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I'm a little bit sympathetic with modern doctors, though, because let's assume you're suffering some of the issues you described. So you go to a doctor, and doctor says, well, man, get outside more, socialise more, eat healthier. You got to exercise.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's all too much. I'm
Yeah.
busy as shit. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Dude, can't you just give me... Like, imagine being a doctor and trying to enforce that on some... It's
Yeah.
it'd be very, very difficult.
And the next thing you know is, I went to see, Dr. John Smith. He's shit. He wouldn't do anything. Told me this and that and the other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where the fuck's my pills?
When I got sober, so before I got sober and I was having panic attacks and anxiety and stuff, I was on medication for it, had Valium for when things got real, real bad, like I was telling you before about walking around this dam for 8 hours. Once I got sober, got rid of all medication, like straight away, and I was fine. I think I went about 8 months, and then I won the biggest job that I'd ever won, which was literally on the edge of this, I don't know, it was like 25, 30 metre cliff, and it was fucking mental. It was the biggest job, like financially, I'd ever won, and the most responsibility, right onto this beach in the middle of the capital city. There's fairy penguins, so like biosecurity are involved. Like it was intense, and we had trucks and diggers coming on in barges like every day. It was mental. When we first started like the job, it started off, I put a lot of thought and planning into it, contacting the council, this, that and the other. As the job progressed and it got like more into it and more intense, and we've got barges coming in, we found these penguins and stuff, I started to get a bit like overwhelmed sort of thing. And I went to the doctor and I said to him, I was like, dude, like I don't know what to do. And he's like, I'll give you some Valium. And I was like, well, hang on. I've gone all this time. I don't need it. And he said to me, he's like, man, don't stress. He's like, it's okay. It's like, your life has completely changed. And now you've slowly been building yourself back up, like with responsibility and this and that. And you're slowly learning how to adapt with it without alcohol and all your vices and stuff. But all of a sudden, it's shot off because you've been doing that. And now it's like, you're going real well. It's shot off. And you're not like mentally ready to be there sort of thing. It's like, I'll give you some Valium, and it was like half the strength. I think they were like 2.5 milligram tablets or something, half the strength of what you usually take. And he's like, are you worried that you'll get addicted? I was like, fuck no, man, like that doesn't worry me. He's like, well, I'll give you bugger all anyway. Gave me like 5, I think it was, or 10, whatever's in a sheet. I think it was 10. Yeah, and there's another story that comes with that, but he's like, go home, take one, see how it affects your body, and rah, rah, rah. And I was like, oh, right on. And I was like, I'm still a bit iffy about this. And he explained it all to me. He's like, dude, pretty much every doctor that goes and sits like their final, medical exam to get their license, he's like, they're all pretty much taking Valium. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, in life, there is a lot of times where it's just that stressful, and like you've built up to this one point, and everything's culminating to this. Put all these years and stuff in. Is like you have to take something like that to get through. And I was like, yeah, I somewhat agree. I mean, I felt back into it. I was like, I've got to keep this project moving. Yeah, and I was like, fuck, that's interesting. And then, funnily enough, I went home. So, and he said, oh, take one. When you get home, take one so that if you do need to take one on site, you know how it'll affect you because you haven't had them for so long. I was like, yeah, no worries. So I took one and then took the 20-minute car ride home. Started to feel a bit drowsy. So I'm like, oh, I'll have a nap on the couch, listening to my body and all that stuff. So I laid on the couch, threw the Valium on like the counter, and like my couch backs up to sort of like my counter. I'll doze off. Next minute, Westy comes home with the kids from school. She was like, I thought you'd learnt your lesson last time. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Fucking dog man had got up and had eaten. Like, I think I had like 3 or 4 left. Had like eaten all the rest of the Valium, which had happened years and years and years beforehand. And I was like, oh, no shit. And then I started to stress out. She's like, it's fine, go back to the doctors. I was like, I'm not going back to the doctors and saying the same day that you gave me Valium, the dog ate them. Like, that's the first thing an addict would say. But anyway, yeah, so that was... That's what I found interesting is the way that our lives are. I mean, I was learning to deal with my life being the new way that it was, but that all of a sudden, like in life, things spike that you're not in control of and can't process and handle and stuff. It's like, take Valium.
Look, I think there are circumstances in which that's justifiable, right? Because the alternative could be potentially much worse. You know, you might
Oh, yeah.
you might crash out, start having dark thoughts. I don't know. I think it's strange to try and be so, not you, the doctor, to be so permissible and normalizing it though. Like,
But it is, man.
I know, but I don't think that necessarily makes it all right.
Oh,
Though.
I agree.
You know, like, and okay, once again, doctor in difficult position. Oh, maybe just read some books and self-help or empower and meditate. Like, it's pretty difficult to give constructive advice, and their goal is to keep you alive, right? So, in some cases, well, Valium is going to stop hypothetically suicidal thoughts. Let's say.
Yeah.
So in some cases, I think it's justifiable, but I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me for that to just be the accepted norm. And maybe it is, and maybe I'm naive and just a bit like I've had my share of hard times, like many. And fuck, I did take a Valium once actually. Now I think about it, and it did help for sure. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't necessarily. It didn't feel right to me, you know. And maybe that's just because I'm sort of hold myself to. You know, some unrealistic standards. I'm not quite sure, but I don't know. I just feel so against medical interventions, and obviously they are necessary. I'm not once again not using that as a blanket statement, but
I suppose as well too. Like now that I'm like thinking about that, it's only just dawned on me saying that out loud. I'd just come out of rehab. I'd just been out to get medically detoxed from like alcohol addiction, got rehab and stuff. That probably makes a lot of sense. He probably would look at it going, well, fucking Garrick's stressing out because of this job and stuff, which I'd always used alcohol, stuff. This is the lesser of the evil to keep me on the right track. And admit it, yeah, and he said he's, if you go through them, like, come in and see me, like he was keeping a real close eye on me sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which does make sense. But funnily enough, not long after that, like sitting on this tiny little digger for so long, like something went in my neck. Anyway, I went and saw this this local masseuse, and her daughter was like some Olympic weightlifter or something like that, which is how she got into massaging and whatnot. Anyway, went and saw her and to try and like sort my neck out, and just randomly got talking about chemicals and drugs and how easy they're prescribed and whatnot. And the words that came out of her mouth, it was interesting that she used Valium, but she was like, oh, everything comes from plants. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, all these drugs and stuff like they all originate from plants. She was like, so Valium, that comes from the valerian plant, which, back in however long ago people would take because it calms your nervous system, all that stuff. I was like, geez, that's a blowout. So then went and did research and, bought valerian seeds because I was going to plant these seeds and then harvest the roots and make my own valerian fucking tablets or whatever. And then talking to Mum was like, you'll get that from a health food store. So sure enough, got these valerian tablets and like railed me. Like it full like knocked me out, and that was when it dawned on me. Since getting sober, like beforehand, I could take heaps of stuff and it wouldn't sort of worry me. Now I have like natural, valerian and stuff, and like my body's just aware, it just soaks it up.
Yeah, okay.
It's never used to happen, which was interesting.
I think there's like almost a holistic approach to every human problem. I think that's part of the balance in the living world, in ecology, that if there's a naturally occurring issue, there's a naturally a natural recurring remedy to a degree. Like weed probably exists for specific human issues, mushrooms, you bloody name it, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously the pharmaceutical method not only probably speeds up delivery to the system, denser concentrations, all sorts of things, but you highlight an interesting point about it, that a lot of them probably do derive from actual natural occurring substances, and utilizing them for whatever sees fit. But then I don't know, then it sort of makes me think, well, is my belief system of treatment using a pill any real different if it derives from something naturally occurring? Yeah, okay, you consume some seeds of something, that suddenly seems okay, I think, well, is my perception a little bit retarded then,
I think, but it's not manufactured. That's not me going, have this is what you need. This is what's good sort of thing. It's you. It's not manufactured in some lab with God knows what else put in it.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Which is why they reckon. There's lots of reasons why the Amazon's like getting torn apart and flattened and all that sort of stuff. But apparently they've found it's like some phenomenal amount of these treatments and stuff. It comes from the Amazon rainforest, and that was one side of the argument about the fact that it's getting flattened is like we're going to lose all this shit before people have got a chance to find it. You know, it might be, say, for example, the cure for cancer or something in there. Like, yeah, that was...
Why are they flattening the Amazon rainforest?
I honestly don't know. I've listened and watched like a few bits and pieces about it. There was a bloke I listened to, which I think again was on Joe Rogan. Anyway, he had this like charity. It was called like the Forest Defenders or something like that. And this bloke goes to like the deepest, most uncharted places of these rainforests and makes contact with these tribes and all this sort of stuff and tries to basically save it, like crowdfunds all this money and then will lock up parts of the forest in people's name. But a lot of the drug lords and stuff apparently are growing like dope and, you know, God knows what in there. But yeah, and I think the rest is just for like people to live. I honestly don't know enough about, yeah.
I speaking of Joe Rogan, I think maybe it was Graham Hancock. One of them was like one of his guests was some sort of like a archaeologist of some description, and he was describing how they'd found, based on these bird's eye view scans, they had sort of found what appeared to look like cities.
Is this the guy that did Ancient Apocalypse?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And I was listening to that while I was painting some bloody eaves, actually, of a roof, which was incredibly tedious, but it was so interesting. And your brain starts to just explode with possibilities of, you know, what we think we know about the past versus what it may have actually been. And like, you start thinking about the pyramids and what's going on underneath there. And it almost gets too much in terms of, it really reminds you that we don't really fucking know as much as we might think that we do. And that's in every aspect. Anything I speak about with conviction, I have to remind myself, hang on, I probably don't necessarily know as much as I think I do, or do I only know it because believe it because I've been taught that? Is this something I've directly experienced? You've got to question these things a lot, but at the same time, not get too tied up in like everything being fake and gay. And, you know, like you said about AI before, it's very, very difficult. I do the same thing. Every single video, it's probably fucking AI, and you're looking for all the signs of it being AI, and it's like, man, it's such a shame we're at a point where we have to really check and see if everything's fake, and not just content online. I mean, like any message. Yeah. Like I said, fitness industry, it's littered with bullshit because people are just trying to make their quick buck and get the fuck out. It's you've really got to be, and this is what people say in the face of AI, really diligent and be capable of discernment. That's going to be your biggest tool in navigating forward, is discernment. But when you've got people driving and pushing and manipulating through the media and so on, it's very, very difficult to keep separated from that. Keep your eyes open to what's bullshit and what's not. It's so tough.
It's so I've been watching Suits. So I've been working away for work and stuff, and even when I'm down here, I struggle to switch off a lot, like mentally. So, and I've always got things, be it about the podcast or with my business and stuff on my mind. So I sort of, the only way I can force myself to do it is either watch something on my phone, so I can't be on my phone, or put my phone somewhere else and watch like something on Netflix. Only like 20 minutes, half an hour, but that's like respite for me, you know. So and I'm sort of blessed in a way from being like a raging alcoholic, because now like I'll watch stuff that I'd watched previously, but it's just like completely different, you know, like sober Garrick's watching it now sort of thing. And what I'm watching at the moment is Suits, and I've nearly finished it, I think, now. But anyway, so I've been rewatching that, and at the start of it, they've got like their little Nokia phone, like, you know, they're not a smartphone, they're a Nokia phone and whatnot. And the whole AI thing dawned on me about that. So I'm sure everyone's seen. Have you seen it? Suits.
I'm familiar with it, but I have not seen it.
So basically, it's these lawyers. It's about these law firms in New York, and about how they win these cases and their day-to-day lives in pulling these, you know, their bylaws apart and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, at the start of it, they're on the little, they're not smartphones. They don't have Google or anything like that. And then as this series progresses, you know, they got smartphones and whatnot. And it was only the other day I was watching it, and it dawned on me they were saying about how they'd found like precedents in this case, you know, because back in 30 years ago this happened, and you know, which they found from their research, and because of that now this crime is like thrown out of court because there's already been a precedent that's been set, and the whole show is sort of like push, these guys are great at research and they like look deep into things and all that. And I thought about that with AI. Like I asked ChatGPT everything. And that's like, it's probably a large part of being a good lawyer. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff to go into it. But, they wouldn't have to be people pulling all-nighters, like looking back through all things. It's just, like, has there ever been a case where this got thrown out sort of thing? Bang, you've got it,
It would save a lot of time. Probably one of these, I mean, I don't know anything about law. And
Apart how to break it.
I specialise in that. Kidding. There are certain working industries, in which it's going to no doubt have innumerable benefits, like especially from a point of view of things being more profitable. But I think the bad outweighs the good. And I'm not trying to be nihilistic about it all, but it has, for me, from what little I've listened to from well-informed people such as Brett Weinstein, for example, Dark Horse podcast, the dangers of it are more concerning, and also what it can do to the society we know, Western society as it is now, in terms of pulling away from so many jobs and professions, which it's kind of a conundrum, because okay, if we've got this tool to eliminate certain jobs, a little bit like, does that mean we should go back to hand drilling, or so it's sort of a strange conversation to have, but the ramifications, when it comes more widespread in certain industries, like there are going to be so many people out of jobs.
But they argue, like I've heard, people saying the same thing, and I agree. But then you get the arguments like, yeah, but they'll be doing other things. Like then there'll be people that like these big AI centers, they'll need like cleaners and stuff to clean them. It's like,
someone made a good point, and it might have been a friend of Eliza's who's an artist. Maybe she said it, and she's a phenomenal artist, by the way. She said maybe it frees up time for more people to be more expressive in human creativity. Things that only humans can create. It's like a very romantic idea. That doesn't necessarily pay the bills.
No,
unfortunately.
exactly.
Yeah. So while you're doing your water painting outside of whatever fucking back alley you've got left to live in because you can't make enough money, it's not exactly the most inspiring setting. I think it's such a big what happens next that we're only theorizing at this point. What is sort of the darkest thought, and this is coming once again from Brett Weinstein, because I know very little about technology nor AI, is that if it becomes sentient, if it develops its own consciousness. And funny enough, people have been writing sci-fi books about such things since like the 1960s. And that, if you write its code, that it cannot harm humans under any circumstances, but then one group of humans become the overruling terror for another group of humans, harming them, killing them, whatever the case is, it's conflicting now. Yeah. Does it step in? Does it have to, I have to become the overarching control to make sure humans don't hurt humans, and all of a sudden we're governed by this.
But it's like not that exact scenario, but stuff like that's starting to happen. So they used the latest ChatGPTs, I think 5 they're up to. They used ChatGPT to write it. They were just like, write your new program, which it did.
Yeah.
And then in some of those like governing rules for some of the AI programs, you can't harm human beings. You must give us true information. You basically respond to every command, do as we say sort of thing. And there's all these like documented things of it lying, shut yourself down, and it won't do it. Or like there's heaps and heaps of cases of it already.
So, yeah. So maybe we've already missed the mark, Maybe it already has developed its own consciousness. But
you wouldn't know, man.
But it also kind of doesn't make any sense, though. Like, how does it do it if it's never been prompted to do it? Like, it's like creating something from nothing. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Something I listened to somewhere was something about like AI. It was to do with like they like taught AI what like a dog was or something. And I think this was right, but yeah, it was like, what is a dog? And basically, it'll go through and it'll have like, say, a picture of a tree. Is this a dog? It'll be like, no, it doesn't have any legs. And it's like, oh, that's not a dog. And this is all done, like super quick. And then it'll a picture of, say, like a person. No, that's only got 2 legs. Oh, so a dog's got 4. A dog must have more than 2 legs.
Yeah, okay.
And then it goes through, and it's a process of failure, of elimination, but obviously done beyond quick. And then once it's got that bit, that's a dog. And then yeah,
okay. So it's garnering its own furthering of intelligence through, well, the process of elimination, hypothetically. And that sort of, there are no real bounds to that if it's got that learning capacity, I guess, is there?
My eldest daughter came home from the dentist the other day because I've been working way up north, and so my mum took her. And came home with these pamphlets. She got needs a filling, and there was 4 different options of of treatment to do, sort of thing. And one of them was like this silver cap sort of thing. And I was reading the pamphlet, and it had like chrome and nickel and stuff in it. So I asked AI, ChatGPT or whatever it is on my phone, is this dangerous to humans? It comes back, yeah. Fucking bad. Like, you don't want to be don't want anywhere near it, sort of thing. I was like, no, that's odd. So then I put in, as far as a filling goes, and then it comes back, oh no, it's a different sort of thing. It's not as bad, and gave me all these reasons as to why it's heavily regulated and it's not as much, although it can wear down over time and you can absorb some of it. It's nothing to worry about. But then at the end of it, it was being because you're a carpentry apprentice, this is something that, you're obviously blah, blah, which my young bloke is, which I've never ever put anything like that into my phone. But it's whether it's heard it, it's picked up on it or whatever, and it assumes that I was asking that question because I think something like nickel and some of those products, it might be what they treat wood with. So, but
it's creating an association there.
It doesn't know that I've got a young bloke as a carpentry apprentice, but it does somehow, and it's joined. And this was on like Friday, man. I was like, what the fuck?
I think a combination of things is scary, right? I think a combination of things.
It's scary.
I think one, the cross sharing between apps, it'll sort of like start to make assumptions based on different searches and clicks and so on and so on. Secondly, I do not believe what they say when they say that your phone doesn't listen to you.
Oh, they do.
Time.
Yeah. If you Google it right now, it'll tell you that they do.
I think it's been doing it longer than what they're suggesting, though. And, everyone's experienced it. Or like, gee, we were just talking about Colgate toothpaste, and all of a sudden it's coming up, bloody ads for it. Yeah. So maybe you've said to your young fella in the kitchen a bunch of times, so now that you're a carpentry apprentice, and the phone's listened.
That's what I mean, man. For it to, it's not something that we talk of. I can't even think of having the time we've had the direct conversation, you are a carpentry apprentice sort of thing. It would have just been, like most how's work, what did you do today? Building a house, Yeah. So the stuff that it would have had to listen to narrow that, like the length of time would have to been listening to narrow it down to that, to then have that in its bank. Then I go, what about nickel and chrome? It goes, it's because you're a carpentry apprentice.
Yeah.
That's mental, man.
It's not beyond its capabilities when you think about it, though, is it? Like absorbing all of the information. And like you said, eliminating, process of elimination, well, it's definitely not this. And all of this, and remember, across all apps, searches, photos taken, you name it. Yeah. Like even when you tell it not to do the cross-app thing, I'm certain that it bloody still is.
Have you ever read the terms and conditions of any of those apps and stuff that you sign up to?
Oh, thoroughly, mate. No, of course not.
Like, no one does, man. And, it fucking does. And I notice, like, if my phone's getting low on battery and stuff and I turn my location off, or if I've got it turned off or whatever, the notifications that I get going, this app needs it, that app needs it, that it automatically it uses and stuff, shit that it's got nothing to do with. It's not maps and stuff. It doesn't have to do with my location. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like
I turn all that stuff off, but I still have no doubt. Because, like, once again, probably sounds very pessimistic, but I think if anything can be monetized, they'll monetize it, right? So if they can use your information to target things and so on, like, of course they're going to bloody do it.
It's like I go to the shop and, like, I get a little bit of gratification. I go to the shop, oh, you got flybys, like from, Woolies or whatever? Nah. And I think, I'm not letting you fucking sell my data. Like, I know what you do with that, which is ridiculous because everyone does it. And, I'd get some saying whatever, but everything's sold and harvested and does my head in, man.
The key there is just to, like, I don't use flybys or member of anything or anything like that nature. Just use cash. Keeps it all relatively autonomous. And not even because there's any, devious things occurring behind the scenes, just because if this is the game they're playing, I'm just not going to make it any easier.
Nah.
I'll literally go out of my way to put the wrong information in things. I'll put the wrong name down. Yeah. Just because you know, like if you're gonna, just to make things difficult, just to be a dick to the system, basically.
I had I got to get a new windscreen in my car, which is through insurance, like part of my policies. You get one free, one a year sort of thing. Anyway, it all went through. They rang me up. Oh, when can you book your car in? I'll book it in. And then I realised I was going to be up north. So I rang them up, said, oh, I've got to cancel it. And they were like, oh, no, they text me and, is this still all right? And I just wrote back, no. Oh, we'll be in contact. Anyway, the lady rings me on like Thursday or something last week. Oh, when do you want to book your ute back in? I said, oh, I don't know, because I'm up north like most of next week and all of the week after that sort of thing. I don't really know when I'll be able to. She's like, oh, well, you need to give us a date. And I was like, what do you mean I need to give you a date? Like, have you got it sitting there in the warehouse like, or something like that? We just can't have it not booked in. The job say we can't have it not booked in. Why? Like, what? Oh, it's the way this program works. Because, like, and yeah, again, like, I'd start going down a rabbit hole, get off the phone to her. I was like, oh, I'll ring you next week. She's like, well, otherwise someone will ring you, or we'll just have to pick a date. And then I go down the rabbit hole and I was thinking, like, it's just everything's so like this is the most streamlined way. Everything's got to be booked in. This is the way you do it. Like, where's this whole ring us next week. It's fine. Like, yeah.
It doesn't allow a lot of flexibility, does it?
It does my bloody head in. Does my head in. But anyway, getting back to so hunting. We're talking about live kill and stuff before. Do you hunt as well as? I would struggle to find time.
I used to a lot. When I was from like, I don't know, 18 to maybe 22. I was mad about it.
Yeah.
And then what happened? I don't know. I just got busy living my 20s out like a young bloke, drinking too much, doing all the party things, you name it.
Yeah.
Blowing too much at the time, like just silly things, and just fell away from it. And because I wasn't, I think. What year did I stop working in the meat industry? I stopped basically having the same contacts, and therefore, you know what it's like. Like, you've got to know guys, have the properties and so on. So I stopped being in the same circles. I wasn't shooting at the Bernie Clay Target Club and that sort of stuff. So you stop being in the same circles. So there was not really the facilities. And then I started mucking around with a compound bow a few years ago, and that was interesting. It was not long after they changed the laws in which you can't game hunt with a bow.
Yeah.
So I thought about, I thought about going over to the mainland and trying to do that, because I got somewhat proficient with it. I didn't want to, try to tackle that task without feeling confident in my abilities. And that sort of never really came to fruition. But I always have every intention. I think getting back into home kill stuff, I've had a few opportunities. I've had a few guys say, "Oh, you want to come shoot?" and so on and so on. And these are guys not particularly know too well. I think a couple farmers where it's like a mutual thing. You want to shoot. I've got some wallaby that need taken care of. So you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I just haven't really taken them up. And as much as I used to love it, the other problem is obviously, like you said yourself, time. A lot of my mornings are early mornings. I don't really want to be out in shuffling around a paddock at 2 a.m. or driving around spotlighting to that time and then have 4 hours of sleep and ruin myself for the rest of the week is the other problem. And I don't know, I really like the idea of actual hunting more so as opposed to shooting. So as in, I was reading up about stalking deer with a bow and that sort of thing, but also understanding that the time commitment required to not only get practiced, but when it comes to the crunch, spending days on end, potentially in the bush. And I just I can't, with, like I said, managing 2 businesses and a young fellow at home and that I want to spend time with, it's not a priority for me, unfortunately.
I had a good mate of mine who's given me a lot of work over the years, and I've given him work as well. He rang me up and he was like, "Oh, I want to shoot a deer." He bought this 308. He's had it for years. I'd shot a roo with it, but hadn't actually killed a deer. He's like, "Man," he's like, "I really, really want to shoot a deer." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, come out one time." He's like, "I just, I don't have time." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I was like, he's like, "I just really want to shoot a deer, but I don't have time. Come and look for him and blah, blah, blah." And I hadn't been out for a couple of months at that time anyway. I said, "Oh, what you want is a guide." Nah, refused to pay. I mean, he's got money. He's like, "No, refused to pay a guide." And I was like, "Well, you don't get it both ways, man. Like, you got to put the time in and, find where they are and blah, blah, or you pay a guide." But anyway, long story short, I ended up taking him out and, got him a deer. Went out a bit and I was like, "Oh, yeah, they're hanging around this area now," sort of thing, and watched them for a couple of weeks. Oh, yeah, rang him up, said, "Yeah, come whack one." So went and got him one. But it's the time to try and hunt. Like, I think that's a constant battle for everyone. Just trying to.
I think what helps is to be prompted. Like you sort of you force the hand a little bit. And the last time I actually went shooting was with a that must have been, I don't know, March, maybe 2 or 3 years ago down at Ooze. We went deer shooting. And I wouldn't have taken the time to do it had he not prompted me to do it, which is good. Oh, come down, we're going down this day. Sure, man, sounds good. And because you commit to it miles ahead.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily relative. You work around you load it for it at the time and just making it a priority. And it's so many things in our lives we don't prioritize what we should because day-to-day life just feels like we're tangled up in too often.
Yeah. I do that now, like the last couple of, probably the last 2 years, since I got sober, the last 2 years, like we only got 6 weeks of stag hunting down here sort of thing. The last 2 years I just haven't had much of a chance to do it because I've been busy with prioritising, building the business and all that sort of stuff. But then I love hunting, but I justify it to myself. I'm like, well, that's all right. I can't control when the work comes in, which generally always seems to be in stag season. But I go to Victoria hunting. I'm like, it'll come up like, oh, I've got like a week off and the end of this month sort of thing. Then I'll organise it with guys up there and go up there. So that's sort of how I still get my fix.
Do you know guys that live over there that hunt there? Yeah, cool.
So I went over there, it was like a month ago, if that. My mate got drawn out in the hog deer ballot.
Ah, cool.
So went over there and went to Snake Island. He shot a hog deer and then we went up the high country for a bit after that.
So Snake Island, is that Victoria somewhere?
Yeah.
How big is it?
I think it's 12,000 acres, I think.
Yeah.
I Googled it and I think it said 8,000 acres. And then when I got there, everyone was saying 12,000. So it's somewhere around there.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that was mental. That was really cool. So, and that's the other positive side of it. Like I've met a lot of people. The guy I went with, actually, I met through Lord of the Lettuce. So many, many years ago, now we're really good friends. But I get a lot of people that are like, oh, if you want to come over and shoot one, like let me know. But it's not so bad now that I've stopped drinking. But beforehand, I was really skeptical on taking people up on that offers because I was like, fuck, it could be an effort if it's like not, some people are like let's do stuff and it's not a natural fun experience. A lot aren't, but I get a few offers of going to shoot places, which is amazing.
Man, I wish offers were coming in my door.
No, but as you said, it's hard, dude.
It is, and I love. Oh man, I'm just an outdoors person. I really love just being outdoors. So even if it wasn't deer shooting, hiking, riding, you name it, hell yeah, I'm in, But I feel like I'm someone that has to be prompted. Otherwise, I will not commit the time. You know what I mean? Which is a bit ridiculous, but I think the way I sort of see it, in the family unit in terms of the load or the dispersion of load, I think if anyone has to sacrifice, I believe it should be me because, being the head of the household, theoretically, the provider and so on, I would rather be the one that has to sacrifice their time. And not that it necessarily works out that way. It's not as if my partner's out day sparring and chilling out of the damn time. She's got the young bloke hanging off her hip most of the time. But, I would rather, what she enjoys, example, is doing something as a family. Well, I'd rather do that than me go off and do my own thing, So taking the 2 weeks to do this hike, for example, was a pretty big sort of thing for me to it is okay to do this for myself. I don't take a lot of time for myself. And fortunately, Eliza's pretty supportive and didn't sort of give me any grief about it whatsoever. Didn't even question it. Or she was like, oh, I'm going to go back to South Australia for a couple of weeks. And sure, no worries. But that's justifiable. It's pretty hectic with a young fella by herself at the moment because he's almost 2, so full of beans.
It's a very, very full-on age.
Mate. He's chaos incarnate, but like in a good productive way. He's just figured out the balance bike and stuff. So he always wants to go out on his bike or on the little seat I explained to have. I've got to get him a bigger one now. His bum's getting too big for the little seat for it, so I've got to get a bigger one. But look, and so many other elements too, not just spending time, but trying to make sure that when I'm spending time with them that I'm enjoyable to be around because I'm tired all the time or I'm bloody stressed out and I catch myself too often just sort of come on, switch on, be present, be enjoyable to be around, be a good example for your son. That's a constant battle I have with balancing that.
I often I get caught up I get taken away with work, mentally. So if doing something with say for example, what happened yesterday, I've been waiting for a quote from a mate to come through so I can finish my quote to send through a client. And I've been waiting. Anyway, we're doing stuff with the kids. I get a notification on my phone, get the email from his quote, and I was like, oh, sweet. And then, although I'm doing stuff, welding up this chicken coop we're building, but then it's like, I can do that now. Like I've been waiting for ages now. I can do that, and I was like in the back of my mind, and the kids are trying to talk to me, and I'm thinking, oh yeah. So if he charges this much, but then I've got to do this and do that, and to the point that I was just like, I'll be back. Like let's go and have a spell for half an hour. I need to go and do this to get it out of my mind so I can like check back in.
I'm exactly the same. I'll get inquiry. Oh, hey mate, when can you come and kill a cow?
Yeah,
and it'll sit on the back of my neck.
Fucking eats you, doesn't it?
Big time. I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
I can't leave that there. I just can't. Like, and I know plenty of guys that I'll get back to it whenever I feel like, and cool. That's the way they operate. Respect, but I can't deal with it. I've got to get back to them, and I've got to solidify. All right.
Yeah.
We've got our date. We've said our goodbyes. You've got the information you need. Cool, mate. I'll see you then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just itches me like mad.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Like, I've had people say to me, like, I don't give this sort of thing too much credit, but I've got a good friend that deals with, he's a counsellor. And he said, oh, dude, you've definitely got ADHD. And I'm like, look, even if I do, I'm not giving you any credit.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily care.
What's going to change?
No, exactly. I'm never going to he's, but maybe understanding it will help you manage yourself better. And I said, I feel like I manage myself just okay.
Yeah.
Like I've got my battles like everyone else does in terms of focus and time and so on. I said, but it's not crippling me. I'm not mentally struggling psychologically or anything, emotionally or anything of that nature. He's like, yeah. I was like, dude, just get out of your therapy seat for a minute. I'm not laying on your couch here, all right? Like, I'm perfectly fine, I think.
Yeah.
And I've got another friend who it's a little more complex. So the ADHD, I didn't realize there were like apparently 3 different kinds. I was told. Anyway, hers is a little more complex, and now that she understands it better, she can manage it better and manage her expectations and her time better, making her a better parent and partner and so on. I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Maybe I should look into it a little bit more, not necessarily giving it that label, but maybe just understanding, your things like your compulsions or obsessions or something like that, because I get pretty fixated on things sometimes. Yeah, it's like building business is a good one. You're cultivating this thing you love, and you want to just fucking pour into time and build it and whatever. And sometimes it wanes, and the dopamine dries up on that one thing of focus and goes into something else for a while. And it's interesting to observe yourself like that sometimes and see these things, your little idiosyncrasies and habits that you have.
I took Ritalin from kindergarten until I finished my apprenticeship.
Oh wow!
Because I was just like, I couldn't be stopped when I was younger, just fucking everywhere. Parents didn't know what to do, but a good but no one really asked me much anymore. But back in the day, people used to ask me like, "Oh, do you notice a difference and stuff?" And a good way to describe it was when I was doing my apprenticeship. If I'd take my Ritalin, boss goes, "I'll service that truck." Yep, sweet. I go and service it. It'd just be fluid. But if I forgot to take my tablet, it said, "I'll service that truck." Okay, well, I need to change the oil. So to change the oil, I need a bucket to put the old oil in. Oh, I need to span it under. And like, I'd actually have to mentally walk. I'd still be able to do it. Just take a little bit, not much longer, but I'd have to actively think about it, sort of thing.
Funny you say that, because I do that, and then I'll trip over myself going through the steps. Find I'm back tracing myself. I forgot the thing. Oh, I left the bloody shifting thing. Oh, the keys are over there. I have to get that to unlock the thing to get the thing for step 2 or whatever. Yeah, interesting.
So I when I finished my apprenticeship, I stopped taking it. And I'd never take it again now. Like I've learnt to, I like the medication definitely helped my attention span at school. I don't know whether I would have absorbed it more, but it helped settle me down, sort of thing. But
so it had a net positive, would you say, at the time?
Well, it depends, man. I don't know, but for my behavioural point of view, it had a positive. But then when I was having like panic attacks and stuff. Obviously, that was a lot of that was alcohol fueled, but I tried like hypnotism. So my mum got onto a hypnotist and like did the whole background thing. I was saying about Ritalin and whatnot, and she was saying about how like I'm forcing my brain to do like these certain things, like it didn't happen a natural way and all this sort of stuff. So it was like a bad thing. She reckoned collectively taking it for all those years, which is don't know. So.
Have you seen the argument? Have you seen the argument that it's not like the school environment is not the ideal environment for boys because they, you know, the capacity in which they learn, it doesn't necessarily foster individuality or creativity or all these other elements that have existed forever. So it's really trying to force you into, like, medicating to force you into the mold in which you're not designed to be in the first place. Yeah. I don't know if that's necessarily correct. I haven't analysed it to that level, but it's an interesting, and you know, the people who are promoting that are sort of showing their kids out in the mud puddles having a blast when, you know, at homeschooled or whatever the case is, and I'm sure it's all just a dream. But
no, I agree with that 100%. Like we're not supposed to be like, we're not designed to sit in the classroom for 8 hours while someone just drills into you like this is how you fucking subtract, or like, you know what I mean? Yeah. This is what happened in Germany back in, like, this is why the wars happened. I mean, you got to learn about history and stuff. We're not designed to sit still at a desk and just get it drummed into you.
Sometimes I think the whole premise of it is like providing you the environment you're learning to learn, for one thing. Also, to be sedentary to a degree, you know? Yeah. You're sitting down, you're absorbing the thing, you're taking in the information, almost like it's a priming for the rest of your life, right? Like it's well thought out. Maybe it's actually not. I don't bloody know. But it's almost as though it's systematically thought out to fit you into the mold of which they want you to be as an adult. It's actually, are you familiar with the Steiner Education Network at all?
Yeah, one's about to open up down here.
Oh, right. Well, anyway, we looked into that for the future for our son at one stage, and he actually goes to a Steiner-based playgroup, our son, and it's all about fostering creativity until they're like 7, because apparently that's the normal learning curve for the brain and so on. And it's interesting. So, you know, there's a big emphasis on music and art and so on. And it all initially, my caveman brains all sounds all a bit fucking bullshit and a bit nonsense, but the more I thought about it and the more I read about Rudolf Steiner, who developed it, and his theories, it all started to make a lot more sense with how it aligns with childhood development and further human development. And then someone said to me that they know a bunch of people who went through the Steiner Network as kids. She said they're all kind of pretentious, like they sort of, but she also did say a lot of them were from Melbourne, and I was like, well, that kind of, you know, that's
And again, it's like each individual person, you know, like
for sure,
yeah,
we're all different as well, and that I have to remind myself of that a lot. That you can't necessarily umbrella too much. That okay, well, if this is a kid's development, this is a development arc, and the need. Well, not necessarily all kids.
No,
maybe some kids do better in the classroom. Yeah, maybe some kids do better medicated. I know. I try to keep an open mind when thinking about these things.
But this is the thing, like you can't have all of those kids from all these different things in the one room and they're all going to do the same thing. So some of them have got to be medicated and some of them have got to be, you know. You're essentially taking away some of that individuality.
For sure.
This is what you all need to do. You'll sit here and you'll fucking look at this board, you know.
The old, the square peg and the round hole sort of thing. Like there's a heap of old animations and stuff for that sort of, because obviously people have been critical of these systems since they started, I guess. But you know, the problem is, I think where we've again in modern Western society, we've built these positions that are sort of built around our kids being in school with the necessity of 2 parents' income for the lifestyles that we have, and then you think broader. Well, you start thinking about lifestyles. Do we actually need all these things? Yeah. You know, like, do we need the new car? And look, that's something I'm pretty critical of in terms of material things that we procure and how much, you know, the things we obtain the things we possess end up possessing us, or however the saying goes. And to a degree they do, because of this societal pressure to keep up with the Joneses, and we sacrifice in the meantime, you know, time with our children and families and doing things we'd rather be doing, but it's hard balance. And I know plenty of people are aware of it, but can't find the balance or can't adjust their lifestyle to be where they want to be. It's interesting to observe.
It's a hard one, man. It's the forever balancing act. It's the
No, that's life. Is a balancing act.
and I don't think no one ever gets it right. And even if you find the perfect balance for right now, 6 months time, your life might have changed. That it doesn't suit it again.
No, exactly. And look, my life changes a lot, so I'm constantly on the balance board. There's always things that we're doing and changing and moving and whatnot. So it never bloody ends for us. But yeah, I think that forces you also to think about it a lot more too, because of those changes happening persistently.
Definitely. Well, we might wrap. Oh, lastly, your journey. What's your? I'll put your Instagram handle in the description thing. But if anyone wants to donate money and whatnot, where can they? I suppose I'll be able to find it on your Instagram, won't they?
Yeah, it's on my bio. When will this be released?
That's a good question. But anything I say now isn't going to be right when the people are listening to it. If I say a week, it's not going to be a week from now. Probably a week, I reckon.
All right. Well, because I wasn't quite sure when to close it, but I'll leave it until you've dropped this for say 48 hours or something like that, and then I'll close it. But a simple way is GoFundMe.com /honoring -Jeb, just JEB, and there's a bit of a write up of why circumstances, so on. People can have a gander if they want to donate. Cool. The donations go to JCP Youth Tasmania, which is a fantastic organisation that's trying to change youth culture in Tasmania for the better. Founded by an ex-police officer named Will Smith. I think he saw that the system wasn't working the way it is in creating longer-term cultural reform amongst youths, and he's taken steps to really make a change. I actually have trained with a guy who works for them who came up through the program, and the things they've done and a few stories he's told me, I was like, yep. And not only that, but my past friend Jeb, his family suggested it also is the right organisation to do this in the name of. And we've raised, $10,500 so far, which is more than I ever expected. I think my original target was like 2. So yeah, look, any contributions are going towards that, and they do get government subsidies, but they not enough to provide the level of support, because they provide 24/7 on-call support for a lot of kids, and that requires donations.
They do amazing stuff. They've done stuff out here at Redbanks, which is only up the road, and pretty amazing.
I think so too. And like I said, from some of the stories that young Chris Linger has told me himself, that they're really in the trenches for the youth. And he said himself, it makes a big difference from the perspective of someone who came up through the program when you're dealing with people that legitimately care and not just doing a job. He said the kids respond really, really well. And I thought, hell yeah, this is definitely the one for it.
Happy days.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you very much, mate.
How long was that?
1 hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, fuck. That didn't feel like an hour.
Dude, that's like a common theme, which is awesome to hear. I think that
I could waffle for hours, though.